Okay. So once we realized that we had something, like something was unique about it, we didn't really know what was unique about it yet, but we knew something had clicked.
And the feedback was there.
Feedback
even
was
from
massive,
even from the first game. The consultative sales game, people saying
This is groundbreaking.
It's blown my mind.
Completely blown my mind.
How you play games is how you play life. It came out in so many people in so many ways.
But I think we both knew deep down that there was a lot more work to do on the game itself.
We realized that the most effective games, let's just even actually solidify it, isolate it to the most effective game, the one, was the chips game. And the reason it was so powerful was because, speaking psychologically, it was so raw and so close to the human condition and how people most act just naturally if they just had a raw environment to just be,
People were themselves.
be literally human being. Does that make sense? So that was what brought it to life. And then we realized, well, anything that we do moving forward with this, if we're going to take this one thing as the most important thing, this one game as the ideal game, then anything that we create for it needs to be representative of real life and the way it already works and simulates the environment that people play in the business world every day.
Yeah, it is weird. It is weird how much I love this game. I find it interesting, just the different strategies that people play immediately.
We had a busker.
We had push-up
competitions.
When someone just jumped in and tried to steal.
Starting to form factions
alliances.
slightly.
This is really the fun part for me personally, because I think, you kind of grab the vision of there's something about this psychologically that we learn so much more through play than just pure consumption of information.
Yep.
But when it got to actually refining the game, that's where I felt like the inner kid came out in me. Because I grew up playing board games.
Yeah.
And so the concept of mechanics and unlocks was like, oh, this is really cool. But I think that's the secret sauce, is anytime we worked on an unlock or a refinement to the game, we always asked that question, how does this represent life?
Yes.
And so I think the first one we did was tax.
Tip? Does anyone want a tip? Yes. Just ensure that you put away a little bit of money for tax.
Second unlock that we had, which I was fascinated by, was the casino. Oh, so we just need to talk about the previous wins that gamblers have had. Don't talk about the losses. Just remind them that only wins happen at the casino.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yes!
You can't be gloaty about it.
Unlucky ladies.
I'm so sorry.
It was just amazing to see. For me, that was a real eye-opener from the unlocks.
Yes.
Seeing how people could take a very open world, open source world, no rules still.
Yes.
But by adding a few little flavors throughout the game that simulates life.
Yep.
How people were either drawn to that based on human behavior and how they do this in the real world, but two, how it gave people opportunity for creativity. And I think in the modern business world, that's when I personally got super excited, because it almost became beyond just sales training then. It became almost an environment of how flexible are you? How adaptable are you? How creative are you? If you've got a few raw ingredients, what sort of meals can you make out of it?
Nice.
I love that. I loved watching that, because I'm a creative guy. I love creative ventures. That's the thing that gives me probably the biggest buzz out of anything. To see the game actually facilitate creativity within people, I was like, this is sick.
Yep, totally. And then the next one was, so we had tax, casino, bank, so people could do
things.
Bank things.
Fat cat banks.
Yeah, the fat cat bank.
Bank. Who wants money?
We are the bank.
Huh.
Hey.
We've got to run a tighter operation here, Das. We just left the bank vault open in the public.
A crap bank. 10 seconds to make the decision. If not, we will offer it to the next person.
And they will
You guys are good, eh? Such bankers.
They will most likely take it too.
Yeah, and then from there, of course, the idea that brought so many of the ideas that people come up with in the game, brought them to life, which was the Shark Tank.
Shark Tank was a game changer.
The first time we did the Shark Tank, that was all about give us an idea that you want to work with in the room here, or an idea that exists in your business in the real world. And if we think it's good, we'll back it with more chips. But the beauty of it was, in order for us to back people as the Shark Tank, we needed them to back themselves first. So actual action was happening right there in the room. It was fun for everyone because it was all part of a game. They got instant feedback from us as their mentors right there. Instant feedback from the room as well on people thinking about their ideas. So those unlocks that critically and exactingly, I hope that's a word, represent real world, real life. Those concepts that were brought into it, it sort of let us know, I think, ultimately that we had something. This has legs, and it is very different to the typical sales and business training out there.
Worked. That's the thing. I think when we did that second event, and it had some of these unlocks, and we're pretty much playing the chips game, which is now the sales game, for the whole time. It took that first event where people were getting those light bulbs to people literally saying, "This blew my mind."
I've changed. My whole paradigm has changed in the last 48 hours.
It's been the most amazing 2 days I think I've almost ever spent.
And wow, has it been way more in-depth than what I would have ever imagined.
I've come away now not only knowing more about myself, but stuff that I can implement in my business basically from tomorrow.
Not only was it a light bulb, but like the whole thing exploded and people could not go back to who they were before. And that's when, we were getting emails and messages and phone calls of people months later. Like we still get it today, months after they've played, still reflecting on the game.
Yeah.
And seeing the fruits of the ideas that they came up with in the game.
Yeah, and that was, humbly speaking, that was like we were there with them. We weren't like, yeah, I know, our thing's pretty good, isn't it? We were like, I know, it's really good, isn't it? Like this game that just brings it to the surface. We were on the journey with them.
But the thing that was really interesting, because I remember we had to kind of help each other in this, because we're so used to always delivering and helping, was the idea of letting it go as facilitators.
Yeah, let the game run.
Let the game run. And that completely changed my paradigm around education.
Yeah.
That by creating an environment for people to learn through, people learn way more in that than they ever could with just information alone. But when the two came together, I remember we were delivering some trainings in between the rounds where people might be struggling with, say, logic or emotion or whatever approach they were working on. When you then gave the content to be like, hey, here's a model to think through, or here's a model to work through.
In the next round, implement this model.
They could immediately grab it, hold it, work with it, and then that's when the learnings were getting cemented.
Yeah.
That's when people were like, oh, I changed that one thing and the whole game changed for me that round.
Yeah.
That was super cool to see.
From there, I think one of the coolest parts was a guy, shout out to Dale Dupree, over in Orlando, America. That he heard about it, contacted me on LinkedIn, and he said, I think it's time that we bring you boys over to America to, show my community this.